Welcome to our deep dive into the history of Amazon. From, scrappy startup to the global giant it is today.
Right.
We've got all of our notes and articles here.
Yeah.
And our mission is to uncover not just the what of Amazon's journey, but the why.
Right.
Like, what were the decisions,
The
regulated risks that took them from a garage to, a company that kind of touches every aspect of our lives today.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating story because it's not just about one company's success.
Right.
It really is a reflection of how the internet itself evolved.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see how a vision paired with bold moves and a bit of luck reshaped commerce.
Yeah.
And really a lot more.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
The year is 1994.
Okay.
Jeff Bezos leaves a very lucrative hedge fund job, seemingly at the peak of his career.
Right.
What is the allure of this new internet thing
Right.
that makes him take such a leap?
Well, I think what's interesting here is that Bezos wasn't just chasing the dot-com gold rush.
Right.
He had a specific vision. And it started with selling books online.
Now, to someone today, that might seem like a pretty random starting point.
Sure.
Why books?
It was actually a brilliant choice.
Okay.
Think about it.
Okay.
Books are relatively easy to store and ship.
Mm-hmm.
The catalog of titles is vast.
Yeah.
And the book-selling industry at the time was really dominated by these big chains
Right.
with limited shelf space.
So he saw an opportunity to offer something more selection,
Exactly.
more convenience.
The internet allowed him to offer a bookstore with virtually unlimited shelf space,
Yeah.
open 24/7,
Right?
and potentially even lower prices.
Yeah.
He was tapping into this nascent power of e-commerce
Yeah.
before most people even knew what that was.
So in 1995, Amazon is born.
That's right.
Launched from Bezos's garage.
The classic.
Classic startup origin story.
It's a story that resonates, I think, because it speaks to this idea that anyone with a good idea and the drive to execute it
Right.
can make a huge impact.
Yeah.
And Amazon's growth was remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, within a month, they weren't just shipping across the U.S. They were selling books in 45 other countries.
That's incredibly ambitious for a brand new company.
It is.
What was the key to that early success?
Part of it was their laser focus on customer experience. Bezos really obsessed over things like website usability, fast shipping,
Yeah.
and making that purchasing process as smooth as possible.
That customer-centric approach has definitely become a hallmark of Amazon.
For sure.
But they didn't stay focused on books for long, did they?
No, Bezos had much grander ambitions.
Yeah.
By the late 90s, they were branching out into music, DVDs,
Yeah.
toys, electronics.
Yeah.
Essentially anything that could be sold and shipped.
So he saw this potential for Amazon to become a one-stop shop,
Yeah.
a digital department store,
Yeah.
long before that concept became widespread.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And that was a bold. Some might even say reckless vision at the time.
Okay.
This was the height of the dot-com bubble.
Right.
And there was a lot of skepticism about Amazon's long-term viability.
Right.
A lot of analysts questioned their profitability, especially as they kept pouring money into expansion and new ventures.
That period was make or break for a lot of internet companies.
It was.
How did Amazon navigate that turbulent time?
Bezos stayed focused on the long game.
Okay.
Instead of chasing short-term profits,
Right.
he prioritized growth and innovation,
Okay.
reinvesting almost all of their earnings back into the company.
It was a risky strategy,
It was.
but it seems like it paid off.
It did. And then in 2005, they launched something that would change the game entirely, Amazon Prime.
Now, Prime was a huge gamble, wasn't it?
Huge gamble.
The idea of offering unlimited 2-day shipping for a yearly fee was
Yeah.
unheard of at the time.
It was a gamble that fundamentally changed consumer expectations. Suddenly, speed and convenience became the norm for online shopping. And for Amazon, it was a brilliant way to lock in customer loyalty.
I think we can all relate to the feeling of, well, I'm already paying for Prime, might as well buy it on Amazon.
Exactly. Prime wasn't just a shipping program.
Right.
It was a stroke of genius in terms of understanding and influencing consumer psychology.
And this brings us to the early 2000s when Amazon really starts to make waves in the digital world.
Right. The launch of the Kindle e-reader in 2007 was a major turning point. It took ebooks, mainstream,
Yeah.
and disrupted the entire publishing industry.
What's interesting about the Kindles, it wasn't just about selling a device.
Right.
Amazon was creating an entire ecosystem.
It worked?
The Kindle store direct deals with publishers. They were taking control of the entire chain.
That's a key theme in Amazon's story.
Okay.
Identifying industries ripe for disruption
Right.
and using technology to reshape them in their favor.
Yeah.
And they did it again in 2006 with the launch of Amazon Web Services,
Okay.
or AWS.
Now, for those who aren't familiar, AWS is essentially the backbone of the internet.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
It started as a way for Amazon to leverage their expertise in building robust, scalable online infrastructure and offer it to other businesses.
And it quickly became a behemoth.
It did.
Today, AWS powers countless websites, apps, and online services that we use every day.
The success of AWS speaks to Amazon's technical prowess.
Yeah.
They were early adopters of cloud computing, and they built a platform that was not only reliable, but incredibly flexible and cost-effective.
It's remarkable how they turned what was essentially an internal tool into this massive, profitable business
Right.
that's now a core part of their empire.
It highlights their ability to identify opportunities
Yes.
and capitalize on them in ways that no one else saw coming.
So by the 2010s, Amazon is a global force in e-commerce, digital content, and cloud computing.
Right.
But they're not content to stop there.
Nope.
They continue to expand through acquisitions, with one of the most notable being Whole Foods Market in 2017.
Yeah, the Whole Foods acquisition was a signal that Amazon was serious about disrupting the grocery industry.
Yeah.
It was a bold move to expand their reach into the physical world in such a significant way.
It seems like they're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Right.
They've invested heavily in robotics and automation to streamline their operations, experimented with drone delivery,
Yeah.
and even launched those cashierless Amazon Go stores,
Right.
which feel like something out of a science fiction movie.
Those innovations are fascinating, but they also raise questions about the future of retail
Yeah.
and the role of technology in our lives. Are we heading towards a world where human interaction in shopping is minimized
Yeah.
or even eliminated?
That's something to consider as we move into the next part of our deep dive.
For sure.
We've seen how Amazon has transformed the way we shop and interact with technology, but their rise hasn't been without its critics.
Right.
Stay tuned as we explore the controversies and the complex questions surrounding Amazon's impact
Yeah,
on workers' businesses and the economy as a whole.
absolutely. As Amazon's influence has grown, so too have concerns about their impact on workers, smaller businesses, and the broader economy.
Yeah, it's easy to love the convenience of those, prime deliveries
Sure.
and, the seemingly endless selection of products. But there is a whole other side to the Amazon story that we need to explore.
Yeah, let's start with the human cost of Amazon's success.
Okay.
There have been numerous reports and allegations of just grueling working conditions
Yeah.
in their fulfillment centers.
And these aren't just anecdotes either. I mean,
Right.
we've seen investigative reports and studies
Yep,
that
right.
back up those claims.
Workers describe facing this relentless pressure to meet really demanding quotas, leading to injuries, burnout, and even fear of retaliation for speaking out.
Amazon has pushed back on these criticisms.
They-
They've said that they prioritize worker safety and well-being, and they point to their investments in automation and technology
Right.
as a way to improve conditions.
It's true that Amazon has raised its minimum wage and offers benefits like healthcare and parental leave.
Right?
These are positive steps.
Yeah.
But critics argue that they don't address the core issues of worker exploitation
Right.
and the potential for automation to displace jobs in the long run.
Yeah, it's a complex issue
It is.
that touches on this larger debate about the future of work in an increasingly automated world.
Right, yeah.
Like, what happens when machines can do many of the jobs
Yeah.
that humans currently rely on for their livelihoods?
That's a question we as a society need to grapple with.
For sure.
And it's not just about warehouse workers.
Right.
Amazon's dominance also raises concerns for small businesses.
Yeah. There's a real fear that Amazon's just sheer size and aggressive pricing strategies make it almost impossible for smaller retailers to compete.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Amazon has the scale to negotiate lower prices with suppliers. They have a vast logistics network.
Yeah.
And they're constantly pushing the boundaries of efficiency.
Right.
It's tough for a mom and pop shop to keep up with that.
We've seen countless stories of small businesses struggling to stay afloat
All right.
in the face of Amazon's dominance, leading to closures and job losses in local communities.
Of course, Amazon argues that their platform can actually benefit small businesses
Okay.
by providing them with access to a wider customer base. They offer tools and resources for businesses to sell their products
Right.
on Amazon Marketplace.
That's true, but there's a concern that Amazon can use its data and market power
Yeah.
to favor its own products or undercut prices, potentially pushing out those smaller competitors over time.
It raises a fundamental question.
Yeah.
Is Amazon creating a more competitive marketplace? Or are they ultimately becoming a gatekeeper
Right.
that decides who succeeds and who fails?
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
And it ties into this larger issue of Amazon's growing economic influence as they become more powerful.
Right.
There are concerns about their impact on the overall economy.
Some argue that Amazon's low prices and convenience benefit consumers.
Yeah,
And there's truth to that.
sure.
But others worry about the potential for monopolies
Right.
and reduced consumer choice in the long run.
Yeah.
If Amazon becomes the dominant player in too many sectors, do we end up with less competition and innovation?
Then there's the question of taxes.
Right.
Some creators argue that Amazon doesn't contribute enough to local communities compared to, traditional brick and mortar businesses.
And we can't ignore the environmental impact of Amazon's massive logistics operation,
Right.
from packaging waste to the carbon emissions from all those delivery trucks and planes.
Yeah, it's a reminder that convenience often comes with hidden costs.
It does.
Yeah.
As consumers, we have a responsibility to think critically about where our products come from and the impact our choices have
Right.
on the world around us.
So we've seen how Amazon's quest for efficiency and growth has brought about both advancements and anxieties.
For sure.
It's a complex picture with no easy answers.
Right.
But that's precisely why it's so important to dive into these issues.
I think this deep dive isn't about telling you what to think about Amazon.
Right.
It's about providing you with the information and context to form your own informed opinions.
Absolutely. And this brings us to a pretty pivotal question.
Okay.
What does the future hold for Amazon? Will they continue to dominate?
Right.
Or will they face growing pushback
Yeah.
from regulators, competitors, and consumers themselves?
Let's explore those possibilities as we head into the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into Amazon, from, humble beginnings in that garage to their status now as
Whoa.
this global powerhouse. We've seen the innovations, their pursuit of efficiency, and, the complex questions surrounding their impact on the world.
It's a story that continues to unfold.
Right.
The next chapter is still being written.
So what does the future hold for Amazon?
That is the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah, will they continue to just dominate? Or will they face growing pushback?
Well, I think it's likely a bit of both.
Okay.
Amazon's ambition shows no signs of slowing down. They're constantly pushing into new territories,
Right.
from healthcare to AI
Yeah.
to even space exploration with Blue Origin.
It seems like Bezos' vision of selling everything is still driving the company forward.
It is even under new leadership.
But as we've discussed, this growth isn't without its challenges.
Right.
I mean, there's increasing scrutiny from regulators, lawmakers, and the public about Amazon's power and influence.
We're already seeing antitrust lawsuits,
Right.
investigations into their labor practices, calls for greater regulation of big tech in general.
It's probably safe to say that the regulatory landscape for companies like Amazon is going to get more complex.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And then there's this, shifting consumer landscape.
Right.
People are becoming more aware of the ethical implications of their purchasing decisions.
Sure.
We're seeing this growing movement towards supporting local businesses
Well,
and sustainable practices.
That's an important trend to watch.
Yeah.
If consumers start to prioritize those values more,
Right.
it could have a significant impact on Amazon's future growth.
It's also fascinating to think about how technological advancements
Yeah.
will shape Amazon's trajectory.
We're on the cusp of some major breakthroughs in AI automation robotics.
Right.
These technologies have the potential to further transform Amazon's operations and potentially disrupt entire industries.
Will they lead to even greater efficiency and convenience for consumers?
Possibly.
Or will they exacerbate those existing concerns about job displacement and economic inequality?
These are questions that we'll need to grapple with in the coming years
Yeah.
as Amazon continues to shape the world around us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
what are some key takeaways that you hope our listener walks away with?
I think the most important thing is to understand that Amazon's story is far from over.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dynamic, evolving narrative
Right.
with both positive and negative implications.
Yeah.
As consumers, as citizens, as participants in the digital economy,
Mm-hmm.
we have a role to play in shaping that narrative.
We need to be informed, engaged, and, willing to ask tough questions
Mm-hmm.
about the role of technology
Yeah,
and the concentration of power in our society.
exactly. This deep dive has hopefully provided some food for thought,
Yeah?
some new perspective,
Yeah,
and a deeper understanding of the forces shaping our world.
absolutely. It's been a fascinating journey exploring the rise of Amazon.
Yeah.
We encourage you to continue exploring, questioning, and, thinking critically about the companies and technologies that influence our lives.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.